All right, with this, let's move on and let's put the spotlight on Trent because that stock is in focus today after not just the AGM commentary. Other than that, we have also the Q1 updates and a downgrade as well. And let's connect with the man himself, Abneesh Roy, Executive Director of Nuvama Institutional Equities, joining us on the show right now. Abneesh, morning. This is Shrishti. And firstly, it's a downgrade coming in from Nuvama itself. Help us with the reasoning. Why this downgrade? And it's already a 7% cut is what we are seeing on the stock. Where do you see it headed from here on?
Yeah, thanks and good morning. Yes, we have downgraded Trend to hold. Our new target price is 5884. This is more of how we see the near-term growth. Yes, because of Q1 miss, we have reduced our revenue expectation for FY26 by 5% and cut EBITDA also by 9%. So obviously in the AGM yesterday, Trent highlighted that near-term growth metrics in the core fashion business will be on the slower side, so around 20% kind of growth, which is not a bad number, but everyone expects much more from Trend. If you see last 5 years CAGR, they have delivered 35% kind of growth. Against that 35%, it's a weaker number. So we see this as a near-term reaction to the near-term weakness. Longer term, we do expect Trend to come back, and Trend will also scale up new growth drivers longer term. Zudio Beauty and Star business, we see that longer term those can become the next big growth drivers, but it will take some time. If you see, some of the other fashion retailers have also said that because of the festival shift, etc., Q1 numbers, there was some weakness in North India. So overall, I think in Trend fashion business, strong base and overall festival shift, etc., has led to some level of slower growth. There is an urban slowdown, which we have been highlighting. So it's a mix of all this. Long term, I think Trend remains a compounding story. They have a vision to scale up revenue 10x, and already from a FY23 perspective, they have doubled the revenue. So we do see 250 stores addition yearly. So it's a good long-term story, more of a near-term risk reward, which is not favorable because of the Q1 weaker numbers in the core fashion business.
So that's the take on Trent coming in from Abneesh, the note written by Nuvama that downgrades the stock. Abneesh, hi, morning. Snehi also joining in the conversation. Other than the AGM commentary, another trigger for this stock being weak today is the Q1 update that we've received a while back. Now the revenue number they have reported as 5,061 crores, which is an uptick of roughly 19.7, so 20% thereabouts on a year-on-year basis. The street on a consensus view was estimating much more than this. What are you making of this number?
So sorry, which company you said? I missed.
Trent. We're talking about Trent only. The Q1 update that they have given, the revenue figure has come in at 5,061 crores. So what do you make of this number? Because the street was estimating a much higher number here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So in the AGM also, they said that only that in the near term, the core fashion business will be weak. And that's why we had put out in our downgrade note that around 20% kind of growth in Q1. So essentially, it's matching that post that weak commentary in the AGM. Yeah, the consensus expectation was definitely higher. Our sense, it would have been more like a 26% to 35% kind of expectation by consensus. So yes, against that, it is a weaker number. And it can happen, right? In such high growth companies, there can be few weak quarter. That doesn't change the longer term story. But yeah, near term risk reward becomes unfavorable. And that's why we are seeing a correction in the stock. I think longer term, if they can come back to a 25-30% kind of growth in the core fashion business and overall, I think the stock can re-rate post that. But yeah, currently we'll have the Q1 weakness and some slight correction and some time correction can still continue in the stock in the near term.
Abneesh, the fact is that Trend actually got this whole fast fashion story really right for itself. Every time, barring the past 6 months, we used to track the number of store additions specifically for Zudio, and actually the stock also reacted the same way. But now the next big thing for Trend, or rather that the management is betting on, is actually Star Bazaar. Abneesh, do you believe that there is any scope that Trend can disrupt this hypermarket scenario in any way? Anything that you will be tracking or looking forward to in that direction?
Yeah, definitely. Trend hypermarket Star Bazaar last many years, they have been trying different kinds of permutation combination. If you see in terms of private label, the Star Bazaar has very high private label in many FMCG categories and beyond that also. The competitive intensity in the overall this part of the industry in the last 3 years has become much higher for the customer. Many more options of quick commerce and e-commerce is available. So that I think partly has delayed the expansion plans and recovery of the Trent hypermarket. But they are working on getting the full business model, and they have highlighted in the AGM also that this can become a bigger business longer term than Westside and Zudio. My sense is this will take time. It is not a 1 year story. It's more like a 5 to 10 year story. The good part about hypermarket is it has become highly consolidated in favor of one or two players, right? We have got on one hand Reliance hypermarkets and supermarkets, and then you have got DMart. After that, obviously there's very little organized play available. Quick commerce, e-commerce will have its own revenue share. Currently, more of discounting and convenience, which is driving. Long term, of course, I don't see quick commerce offer this level of discounting once the overall industry stabilizes. I think post that, Trent hypermarket will have a much higher probability of success. In terms of the competitive intensity, currently it is too high. That's why I think more of a longer term story. Same thing is true even for their Zudio beauty business. Clearly, the way Zudio has disrupted the apparel market in terms of very value offerings, I think in the medium longer term, this is one thing which I think they can crack it. But it will take some time for the stability to come, given this is a new business and there are other options for the customer. Those are more premium offerings. So I think there is a space for Zudio beauty in terms of price positioning perspective for the customer longer term, not near term.
Abneesh, so you mentioned about Zudio Beauty, and in fact, my next question to you was just on that, because your note does mention that something like a Zudio Beauty and their other segments, they need to first stabilize before they can scale up further. How long do you think it's going to take for something like a Zudio Beauty to stabilize? And also, we've heard that Trent has forayed into the lab-grown diamond segment, but we're not hearing anything on that note after that. What's your take on that, and how long till the new businesses stabilize?
Yeah, any new business, if you see, it will take at least 2 to 3 years for the full value propositioning, price value equation, competitive intensity, etc., panning out all that. Because these are hyper competitive segments. Like you have got both e-commerce, quick commerce, and you have got all kinds of physical retailers like Nykaa. We have Reliance, and Big Basket has its own business also. So these are businesses which have fair bit of competition. So I would say that it would need at least 2 years for the full stability to emerge in this, and after that the hyper scale up in terms of store rollouts, etc., can happen. Coming to other question on lab-grown diamond, company has launched a few stores to gauge customer response before a wider rollout. Of course, if you must note that in lab-grown diamond, last few years in India, we have seen massive price deflation, right? So to that extent, stability of pricing is something which I think customers always have that question mark, whether if I buy now, can more price correction happen? Trent definitely is starting certification for the lab-grown diamond with foam. Format is currently limited to 20 stores. This is currently a pilot basis, but if you see here, it's almost a mirror image of what they did in apparel, right? Versus the competition, the price was lower and the value and the overall quality at that price clearly was a big draw in terms of the Zudio apparel format. I think even in the jewelry, there is a space for this kind of a aggressive player, which will first try to understand the market, and then you have got Tata trust in terms of the overall in this kind of business. So it will take some time, but this is again an industry in which we have seen disruption and price deflation. So that to that extent, a lot of other players have also launched. So we'll have to get first the price stability part. Then we have to see how Trent's foam has pricing difference versus the other competitors in that space. So, but yes, this can be a good long-term opportunity given the Zudio learnings which are clearly there. And definitely customer also needs more trust in this kind of a business, and that Tata brand name and overall Trent Zudio kind of a brand definitely brings that to the table. So we do see that this can become a large business if we can see more price stability in this industry.
All right, Abneesh, before we sum up this discussion with you, and the reason that we extended this chat so much is because Trent is one of those investor favorite stocks, and you know that correctly. But Abneesh, before we sum this up, give us top 3 points that you will be looking for in Trent going ahead, because like I just mentioned that it was always that Zudio store edition, Westside store edition that we have been tracking of late. But now with this change in strategy, which are the top 3 areas that you will be looking very closely?
No, I think long-term story, absolutely no change. It is a great compounding story. In any long-term compounding story, there will be periods of weakness. No company can grow at a 30% kind of a number at all times. And there is a general urban slowdown. There is a competitive intensity. There is a festival shift also which keeps happening, right? So this time Eid was different versus last time. So there can be some impact in some of the micro markets because of that. Now, in terms of 3 monitorables, clearly the store addition. So Trent plans to add, for example, 250 plus stores in all the formats combined for FY26. Generally, what we see, Trent is a conservative management in terms of guidance. So we do expect that they should be able to beat this medium long term. Second will be how the scale up of the Star Bazaar rollout is. We have seen, for example, DMart now going to Uttar Pradesh in the Agra market. So that's something I think as a competitor, Star Bazaar should also become a bit more aggressive on new store addition, maybe some new states also. So that will be the second one. Third will be, of course, what we discussed in terms of the Zudio beauty and definitely the lab grown diamond foam, etc. How the scale up is there, because currently some of these are in the pilot project. But frankly, medium long term, I see no reason why Trend will again go back to a higher trajectory in terms of growth number. This is just a weakness which happens in long-term compounding story. Nothing really to change long-term thesis, nothing really to worry from a longer term. Yeah, today these stocks are expensive. If you see in terms of PE multiple, it was around 60 times PE multiple FY27. So in such high valuation, when slight miss happens, there is a correction. But that's a good opportunity to buy from longer term perspective of 1 to 2 years. But near term, I think the street will watch on the same store sales growth for the company and overall growth in the fashion part of the business for the re-rating to happen in the next 2 to 3 quarters. But Q1 obviously is a miss.
Lots of triggers to watch out for when it comes to Trent. Abneesh, really appreciate you joining us on such short notice, and thank you so much once again for your time and your perspective on Trent. On that note, we'll slip into a very short break on this edition of First Trades and be right back to talk more about stocks and updates on the other side.